Hello and welcome to another episode of the Diet Obsessed podcast. I am your host, Veronica Santarelli. I am a certified personal trainer, nutrition and weight loss coach, and this podcast is for those of us who are just obsessed with everything related to improving health and longevity, with a special emphasis on food, fitness, and diet culture. All right, let's get into the show. Now, if you want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do that. So this is one of my free episodes. I do a free episode every other week, and then every other week I do a premium content show called Craving More and Craving More VIP. So you can subscribe to those shows if you want a weekly podcast every single week through Patreon or really wherever you listen to podcasts. I also have a YouTube show. So when you subscribe on YouTube, that really just means you're following the show. And that also really helps us. You can also follow me at the Diet Obsessed Podcast on Instagram. You can DM me there if you have thoughts, ideas, comments. I love to hear from you. And I appreciate your support. All right, everyone, let's get right into my first segment, my mental health check-in. I do have a good podcast review later about whether shoes are a diet, and I love this topic, so we'll get into that in a minute. But first, getting into my mental health check-in. So it's Tuesday. It is 6:30 in the morning. This new schedule is working out really well for me, just having my marathon day on Tuesdays. When you see this, it will be July, although for me, today's the last day of June. And overall, my mental health is really good. There have been a couple things that have been bothering me. I will talk about those things behind the paywall. Some things are only meant for behind the paywall. I like to have a little bit of privacy for some of the things I discuss that are a little bit extra personal. So I'll be talking about those things next week. But overall, I feel really in a good place. I've been spending a lot more time outside this summer. I've figured out the way to enjoy my pool in the summer. So, because I'm such a sunscreen whore, I need full coverage sunscreen all the time. So I don't love to slather myself up and then, go right in the pool. So, and I just try to avoid the sun when I can. There's going to be times that I'm going to go out hiking with friends, and there's going to be plenty of times where I have a lot of sun exposure. So the times that I can control it, I do. And so sometimes if I do want to swim in the pool when it's, full sun out, I'll wear a rash guard so that at least the top of me, is covered and I don't get any burns. It's been a long time since I've gotten a sunburn because I had this melanoma scare a long time ago, and ever since then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna protect my skin. I also, ever since I've realized that it's correlated to aging skin, that seals the deal. I'm definitely trying to hide, but I do love the sun. I'm a sun worshiper. When I was going to college in New Hampshire, I would look for that ray of light and just sit in the sun and just have it, in there. It was very rare to get sun. Now I'm in Arizona where it's like constant sun. It's too much sun sometimes. So, but what I've realized is if I go in my pool around 5 p.m., half the pool is in the shade at that point, and then half is in the sun. So I can be mostly in the shade. I can, dabble into the sun here and there. But I don't have to have full sun exposure. And it's so hot out right now. It's over 100 degrees. The pool is super warm, and it's just such a nice time. I've already eaten, so it's a good time to balance some energy and get a little second workout in. And again, it's just, I can enjoy nature and look at the birds. And it's just a very, very pleasant way to get outside a lot in the summer in Arizona. I don't spend as much time outside in the summer in Arizona as I should, because everywhere else in the country, this is when everybody is going outside. And it's just such a weird thing that, Florida and Arizona, it's like the two places where it's gorgeous the rest of the year, but in the summer it's oppressive, the heat. If you submerge yourself in a pool, though, it's quite lovely. So we're very blessed to have a pool, and I finally am using it a lot more, which again, I like appreciating all the things that I have available to me now when we are trying to be in more of a conserving mode in life in general, while I'm waiting to get promoted. So anyway, a couple other things that I wanted to talk about. So next week I am heading to Maine. I will have one more recording most likely before I head there. So I'll talk more about my Maine trip before I leave and when I come back. But I am going to have to work from there, which should be interesting because I work till 10:30 at night here. So there it'll be working till 1:30 in the morning. So that should be interesting. I was hoping to have some vacation time, but that is not going to happen. So we are just going to work and just appreciate the fact that we can work from home and still be in Maine and visit our families. Because I do have the 3 days off, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I'll probably take a sick day at some point, just use some of my sick time, which I do have available to me. So very, very excited to see my mom and my sister and my brother, my stepfather, just all my friends from Maine pretty soon. I did successfully complete a second water fast, so feeling good. I have a tendency to overeat when I'm chilling, when I'm bored. It's always going to be one of those things. Like, that's part of why I created this podcast. It's that accountability factor. I think, again, if you are someone that enjoys eating, you do work to balance the energy, and that'll always be something that I work hard to do because I love to eat and I love food. So I was very happy with the results of that second water fast. I like the idea of doing that occasionally. Going into the second day of animal protein, that is definitely a challenge, but one that, like, when you are able to complete challenges in life and do what you say you're going to do and promise yourself, it is good for your self-esteem to know that you can stick to something, complete something, and hit a goal. So I'm very goal-oriented like that. So I was very happy to get through that period. I thought about doing another one today, but because I did have some, again, my Sundays are always going to be a big challenge, and Mondays have also become, a little bit of a challenge because it's kind of a day off. So I just have more time. But I'm not going to do anything that strict today. But I do like this idea of like a 1-day water fast. I think it works really well for me, and it's something that I probably will do periodically. Now, something that I'm very annoyed with is, you can see me fiddling with my hair. So I have been obsessed with this hair oil. It's called, well, I can't find it anymore. I'm very sad. So I've been using this hair oil for years. The girl that I went to in San Diego is the one that introduced it to me, and it's been life-changing for my hair. It's completely transformed, healed, repaired my hair. And it was just luxurious, thick, just such a nice smell. It would make my hair so soft, and like right now it feels dry and kind of greasy a little bit because I bought from the same brand. I'm like, well, let me try this other high shine oil that they have. Maybe they just are renaming it. And it's more like a Moroccan oil, which I hate Moroccan oil. Moroccan oil is too greasy. It was called Goldwell Elixir, and it was thick. And I just wonder, like, why did they stop making this product? Is it because everything's so expensive now, and maybe some of the product or some of the ingredients they're not able to get anymore, or they're too expensive now. I don't know. Like, why would you stop making this amazing product? I hate it when companies do that. It's so annoying. I've written to them. I've tried to, like, how can I get a hold of this company? They're out of Germany. I found them on social media. I'm very upset. And my hair is, it's not good. So anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do. I do have some of my Goldwell, the good stuff left in Maine. So I'm going to pick that up when I go there. But I'm so upset. I love this hair oil. Anyway, that is my mental health check-in of the week. I hope all of you have had a great mental health week yourselves.
A very popular and common skincare brand is facing 6 active cancer lawsuits right now, and the product at the center of them might be in your bathroom today. It's called CeraVe, C-E-R-A-V-E, and it's sold in many stores, and I'm going to tell you exactly what the risk is. Follow along because I think this is exactly what caregivers and families need to know before they use it again. In March 2024, an independent laboratory tested some of the products that are found in popular acne products in America and found something really alarming. The active ingredient in many of them, when exposed to heat as low as just your body temperature, breaks down into benzene. Benzene is a chemical linked directly to leukemia and blood cancers. They found it at levels reportedly more than 100 times what the federal government considers as safe. So think about that. 6 families filed lawsuits almost immediately against the parent company behind some of these trusted skincare brands. The FDA then ran their own tests in 2025 and still found levels across most of these products. 6 specific ones were pulled from the shelves, and litigation is still active and no verdict has been reached. But here's what I keep coming back to. The breakdown of this ingredient into a known carcinogen is not being disputed by anyone, not the companies being sued or the FDA. The argument is only about how much it breaks down and under what conditions, not whether it happens. The American Cancer Society is very clear on this. There is no safe level of benzene exposure, 0. So when a lab finds a carcinogen that's 100 times the legal limit, 6 lawsuits get filed, and the FDA pulls the products off the shelves. I think this isn't a story to scroll past, especially if you're caring for someone that may be immunocompromised or elderly, or even a child whose skin may absorb everything. So check your bathroom cabinet today. If you have acne skincare products with benzoyl peroxide listed as an active ingredient, cross-reference them with the current FDA recall list before using them again. I think caution is free. Share this with every parent and caregiver you know.
All right, let's get into a science of skincare. Now, I was at work the other day and watching YouTube clips, and I will say some of them are very helpful and informative. And I came across this clip, and I guess this guy's a neurologist. Now, he is a little bit hard to watch, but he did have some good information here. So I'm going to play this clip. If you have this in your bathroom, this brand, this type of product, you should throw it away immediately. Okay, here's the clip. So after I saw that, I immediately go into our bathroom and I'm like, do we have any of this here? Because I use a tea tree oil face wash from Trader Joe's, but I wasn't sure what Chad was using. And Chad has had cancer, right? And I look in the shower, lo and behold, CeraVe Hydrating Facial Cleanser. Now, he doesn't remember buying this. He doesn't remember using this. So he's fine with me throwing it away. I'm like, don't buy this ever again. I do think that in Maine, I have a big, huge, pretty new container of this because there's no Trader Joe's in Augusta where I'm from. So when I ran out of face wash one time, the Trader Joe's, the tea tree oil that I love, I was like, oh, I need to go get some, like a new brand. And so I looked at dermatologist approved brands. And this one, does this say dermatologist approved? All right, let's get into a science of skincare. Now, I was at work the other day and watching YouTube clips, and I will say some of them are very helpful and informative. And I came across this clip, and I guess this guy's a neurologist. Now, he is a little bit hard to watch, but he did have some good information here. So I'm going to play this clip. If you have this in your bathroom, this brand, this type of product, you should throw it away immediately. Okay, here's the clip. Developed with dermatologists. Okay. Developed with dermatologists, the unique formula with so maybe it was developed with dermatologists, but did those dermatologists sign off on this? Is that a no? I don't know. But it's crazy how these cancer-causing products are sold every day in America. They're in people's bathrooms and they're harmful. It's crazy. So anyway, that is my Science of Skincare segment of the week. All right, let's get into a foodie affair. Now, it's summer. A lot of you are traveling. Some of you may be traveling to my home state of Maine. And what are we known for?
Okay, I'm at Luke Lobsters in Portland, Maine, right here on the wharf. This is a $50 lobster roll, plus $2 for fries, so a total of $52. I've actually already taken a bite out of it. So look at this. And I want you to compare as well. So this is 8 ounces of lobster. My wife got this one here with a bite out of it that is 4 ounces. So this is the $28 lobster roll, $50 lobster roll. Probably the most expensive sandwich I've ever ordered. Is it justified? Is it worth it? Let's check it out. I already know the answer because I took a bite. The lobster is chilled, it tastes super fresh. They put their little pat of garlic butter, the Luke way. They put some spices on it. I don't know what the seasoning is. This is the bomb. This is amazing. Luke's lobster roll in Portland, Maine. The bread is toasted with butter on the side. It melts in your mouth with the lobster. Outstanding.
We're known for lobster rolls, right? Everyone's like, oh, you're from Maine, you must love lobster. And I'm like, actually, no. I'm one of those people from Maine that does not like lobster. I personally am not someone that's going to go seek out a lobster roll. Now, fried shrimp, I'm there. There's other seafood, like I love a sole. And if there are lobster rolls there, like I think I was at a wedding or something and they had a lobster roll. I think I had a bite of it. I don't think I had my own. I should have had my own because it was really good. But now that we're in this insane inflation time, how much would you pay for a lobster roll? So I'm going to play you a clip and this is more like the Massachusetts area, but let's see how much lobster rolls are going for these days. Here's the clip.
Okay, I'm at Luke Lobsters in Portland, Maine, right here on the wharf. This is a $50 lobster roll.
So $50. Would you pay $50 for a lobster roll right now? And I've seen different pricing, like I've seen, $35. I've seen different pricing. I think in town Boston, where they're paying those rents, and obviously like gas prices. I mean, you think about, these people that are, the cost of everything has gone up, and that is going to translate into the price of lobsters. So how much would you pay for it? Would you pay $50? Personally, no. There are other things that I would pay $50 to eat, not a lobster roll. Anyway, now I did go to a place called, I think it's called 12 in Portland, and they have a lobster roll on this homemade croissant, and the croissant itself takes 3 days to make. Now I wonder, and back when I had it, this was years ago, it was, I don't know, it was an absurd price then. I think it was like maybe 40 something. It probably is like 60 or 70. Who knows how much this lobster roll is now. I really want to go find it and find out the price, because I mean, I'm there for the croissant. I'm there for the roll it's on, the roll. I mean, talk about a buttered, crispy roll. That was the ultimate delivery method for this lobster. Now that is a lobster roll that I would eat. And now, would I pay $60 or $70 for it? No, not right now. Maybe when I'm like rolling in dough, absolutely. Maybe then I would do it for an experience. And if I was from some other part of the world and visiting Maine, obviously I would at that point, right? I grew up around it. I've had Maine lobster plenty of times, but because experiencing the cuisine of a destination where I'm going is very important to me, that is when I would splurge on it. So that would be the exception. Of course, I would try it if it was a novelty. Just like all the Europeans are trying all the American food right now at the World Cup. It's hilarious. I am getting such a kick out of all these people, like the ranch dressing, the portion sizes. It is funny to see the reactions of people. Anyway, that is my foodie affair of the week. All right, let's get into my healthy habits of the week. So I successfully did the 24-hour fast. And after that, again, the whole point of this fast was specifically to burn stored body fat, right? When I overeat, obviously my body is storing it as fat, and I just wanted my body to have a chance to catch up and to consume some of what it had stored. And it did work. I mean, the places where I can visibly see the fat has been deposited, it left that area, but it comes back very quickly when you do go back to those, some of those overeating habits. But I think, again, for me at least, trying to have a very healthy week and indulging on the weekends is what I like to do. I mean, but following the 80-20 rule is ideal for how I like to experience life and food, right? I do feel at my best when I am eating the majority of the time whole foods. Like yesterday, I had a very, got up in the morning, had just a protein shake with some extra peanut butter, PB2 in it, had a salad with some nuts in it and homemade ginger miso dressing. And it was just a ton of chopped up celery and carrots, just whatever was left over in the refrigerator. And then I had made this homemade kung pao spaghetti. Now that was heavier. And if I had just been able to keep it with that, but then I had some cookies, and again, but I like having the balance of eating very, whole foods and then having some sort of treat at the end of the day, as long as I don't overeat that treat. When I can keep the portion to a moderate portion, and it is actually a tasty treat, that is when I feel at my best. It's when I can't stop and keep eating and eating and eating that tasty treat. That's when it becomes an unhealthy habit, which is really what I'm trying to always work on. And that's going to be, I think, something just kind of lifelong, a tendency that just, I don't know, dogs will overeat if you let them. A lot of humans are the same way, especially this one. Anyway, so went into did my 24-hour fast, went into the next day trying to just do mostly animal protein. And then I did eggs. I had my tuna salad, which I'm doing a ton of chopped up celery, shallots, or red onion, lots of fresh ground pepper. And then I did go out because when I decided to do a second 24-hour fast followed by animal protein day, it's hard. It's not easy for me to do that. And so I do always want to make sure that what I'm eating for animal protein, I really enjoy. And so there's a little fruit fly. So I did go out and get some more shrimp because I thought, oh, I want that Cajun shrimp again. And as my dinner, because I had my eggs, I had my tuna salad, and then I was like, I want something really yummy. Now, I decided I didn't end up making that. I was kind of just not feeling like cooking, and I was craving these cucumbers that I had in my ginger miso dressing. So I had some cooked chicken in there, so I just chopped up the chicken and put it in a salad with just cucumbers and my dressing, and that was very satisfying and really good. Now, I did treat myself to these Rainier cherries, and I think I talked about them on my VIP. I had gone to Trader Joe's. I wanted these cherries so bad. They looked so good, but they were almost $8, and I'm like, I'm not going to spend that much on these cherries right now. I'm being very careful with how I'm spending my money right now, even at the grocery store, because things are so expensive. And so I didn't end up buying them, but I kept thinking about these cherries. And so when I ended up going back to buy the shrimp for the Cajun shrimp, and I'm like, you know what? I keep thinking about these cherries. At that point, I decided to do my fast. And I'm like, you know what? After I'm done fasting, I'm going to want a healthy snack, something that I look forward to, that's sweet, like that's going to be the sugar of the day. And I knew that those cherries would be something that I looked forward to, and that would be a very healthy treat. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get these cherries. And I just finished them last night. They were so freaking good. Like, they were plump. They were like that big. So I probably got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, I'd like bite each, you bite around the pit, and each bite was crunchy and satisfying and sweet, and that texture, so good, so satisfying, and worth every penny, worth the experience. You feel good when you're eating that whole food, and it's a perfect treat to have. So I want to continue doing things like that, where I'm looking forward to a piece of fruit. When specific fruit just looks so good, like I always look at the grapes because it's very rare, but occasionally you see these green grapes and they look so plump and crisp. They look like they're going to just explode right off the stems. That is when I buy grapes, and you can just tell they're going to be so crunchy and juicy. Oh, I just love that so much. That's when, nature is bountiful, and when whole foods can be so delicious and satisfying. I just love it. So yeah, so doing that. And then today I've been really, really consistent with my workouts, and doing that whole 10-minute walk after my last meal has been so good for me. It's allowing me to enjoy just the nice hot nights we have. So I'm doing my 20-minute kind of strength training workout typically in the mornings. I then do, when I go into the office now, I usually reserve the treadmill room for 2 hours. And what I make sure to do is I walk very, very slowly. I only walk at 1.2 or 1.3 because I don't want my hips to get messed up. And what I make sure I do is I just do a lot of stretching, a lot of hip stretching throughout the 2 hours, 2.5 hours that I'm in that room. And again, it's not like I'm trying to get this intense workout. It's just, it switches up it makes the day pass faster. I can like put my my YouTube shows on a little bit louder because I'm in this like separate exercise room away from kind of the greater room. And I am moving, right? Even it's very, very slow, it's still some sort of movement throughout the day. So it's better than just sitting there at a desk. So anyway, those were my healthy habits of the week. I hope all of you have had some great healthy habits this week yourselves. All right, let's get into my tasty treat segment. So I went away to, so we had like a little staycation one day here in Arizona. We had this platinum card benefits to use. So we did this, stayed at this beautiful resort down in Tucson. And we had, just some chips and salsa and guac at the pool. But we were going out to this, what was supposed to be a really good Italian restaurant after. And I was so excited. I was like ready for a good meal. And I hate it when I order incorrectly at a nice restaurant or what could be a good restaurant because I take fault. First of all, I've told myself I'm not going to order fish ever again in Arizona. And I don't know why the last few times I've gone to a restaurant, I keep looking at the fish, the poke, I'm like, I don't know why I keep going back to this. I've told myself I'm not going to. So we get to this restaurant and I don't want to ruin my meal. So I'm trying not to eat like a ton of bread. We ordered bruschetta. The bruschetta was great. The bread was delicious. And I'm like looking at this meal and I should have ordered the ravioli. Clearly the ravioli was featured and they had this huge list of it. And some of the combinations I was very tempted by, but I was like, nah, I don't feel like ravioli. And I don't know, I'm so mad at myself. I did not order ravioli. Then I'm looking at all these different pasta dishes and I see white clam, what I think is white clam sauce. But to the restaurant's credit, it did say like in sea broth or something. It said broth, which is not sauce, okay? So I order this white clam in sea broth and it was a bowl of seawater. It was linguine in this bowl of seawater with some floating clams in it. It was disgusting. I ate a couple bites of it. I think it's still sitting in our refrigerator. Chad thought it was a good idea to travel with it, this disgusting meal that I would not even eat while it was piping hot at the restaurant, okay? Take it in our car out of refrigeration, bring it to we ended up at his dad's house the next morning because it was Father's Day. It's sitting in the hot Arizona car for a couple hours after driving 2 hours out of refrigeration from Tucson. He's like, it's fine. We can still eat that. Because at first I was like, oh, I can zhuzh it up myself. I can like make it a white clam sauce. But not after it's been sitting in a hot car out of refrigeration for 4 to 5 hours. Anyway, I did not eat it, okay? I would probably not be here today, but it was disgusting. And I'm just so mad at myself. Now Chad ended up not being super hungry and he did order this delicious ravioli meal. So I mainly ate his food. Luckily, he's really good at sharing. So did have that. I did order a piece of turtle cheesecake, which we ended up bringing back home. I froze it and did enjoy that when I got home that weekend. So that was good. Chad ended up taking one of this really good pizza Bianca that I get from Trader Joe's. It's got like rosemary. It's delicious. Trader Joe's has some really good pizzas. And then he cooked some sausage and sliced some onions on it. It was so, so, so good. It was very greasy, but very, very good. And then I decided to make Kung Pao spaghetti. I mentioned it in my healthy habits. Yeah, it's not like it's obviously not a healthy dish. We had so much left over. I did eat it for dinner last night, but I'm big on copycat recipes. I'm big on like the dupe recipes. And so I'm like, what's something that we order all the time that if I could recreate, we can, save a lot of money and just have a lot of it in the home. So I'm like, the Kung Pao spaghetti from CPK. I love this dish. So I look up a dupe recipe and it seems very doable. It's not anything exotic. I don't have to go to an Asian market. I have a lot of the ingredients at home and I just needed to pick up a few things. I had to pick up sherry. I had to pick up, now I ended up picking up a chili garlic sauce. It did call for a paste. So I'm going to go look and, see if I can find a chili garlic paste. I think it'll be a little bit more of an intense flavor. What else did I have to get? I had to get more sesame oil. Anyway, now it called for minced garlic. Now, so I made the recipe and it came out okay. I had to pick up these dry chili peppers from the store too. Those made it seem more like the recipe, dry roasted peanuts, stuff like that. So I make this recipe, a couple of the ingredients that I was very surprised at. So it called for a lot of minced garlic. Now, when I heard minced garlic, I did immediately think of the pre-minced garlic that we had some in the house. Now, I never, ever, ever use that pre-minced garlic. I really don't like that minced garlic. I don't like the flavor of it in general. I like my own minced garlic. But for some reason, it immediately called that to mind. So I did use that. In retrospect, the next time I make this dish, I'm going to mince my own garlic. I just think fresh garlic has a much better taste. So that's what I'm going to do differently. Because at first I didn't love the flavor. There was something off in the flavor. It was like an aftertaste I just didn't like. And I wasn't sure, is it the minced garlic that I used? And I thought, because it called for red wine vinegar, which I thought was also very, very surprising to me. And I think if I did it again, I would try rice wine vinegar, which is usually what you find in Asian dishes. So, and I would use half the sugar. So it called for a whole quarter cup of sugar in it. And I don't like that much sugar. I didn't like the sweetness of it. It had a little bit too much sweetness. And I think if I I just wanted to follow the recipe to a T. So I did end up just following the recipe and using the amount of sugar it called for. Now, the other thing that I did, and I don't know whether it was because the pan was too crowded, but it called on to make this slurry, which was cornstarch, egg white, and salt. And you make the slurry and you coat the chicken in it. And then they want you to put it in the pan, almost like a pancake, so that it kind of like, I don't know, it was like wanting almost like a seal of the egg slurry around the chicken. Then you're supposed to flip it over like a pancake and then start to like let it brown and start to like break apart the chicken. And that just did not work. Like, I don't know whether the pan was too crowded, whether I didn't heat the pan enough, but it was so disgusting. I'm like trying to cook this chicken and it is looking like shit. And I was getting so upset, as I do when I'm cooking a dish and I'm following the recipe and it's not coming out the way that it should. I ended up literally taking all the chicken and all that disgusting slurry that was sticking to the bottom of the pan. It was a literal white, disgusting mess. I dump it in this strainer. Chad's looking at me at this point. I'm like, stop looking at me. Because I'm getting very upset at this point. Because I like made all this sauce. I had all these ingredients out. And I just thought that all this was going to be a waste of time and a waste of effort. So I literally wash the chicken. I like run water and just wash all this egg and cornstarch shit off the chicken. I'm like, fuck this slurry. And then I take the chicken and I throw it back in a new pan. I'm using like a million pans. So I put it in a new pan, tiny bit of avocado oil, just so it doesn't stick to the pan. And I managed to salvage the chicken. I'm like, this is just chicken. I'm like, and it's just got this like now slimy coating on it. And I am really proud of myself that I didn't just keep going, because if I had dumped the sauce and just tried to make it work with that disgusting slurry, it would have completely ruined the dish, and we wouldn't have been able to eat it because it would have been slimy, and there just would have been extra just shit all over the place. So I wash the chicken, throw it back in the pan, salvage the chicken. Now it's just looking like, cube chicken, whatever. So then I throw in the garlic, I throw in the scallions, and then I throw in the sauce over it. And then it's fine. It's fine. I put in the pasta, I threw in the nuts, and it actually came out. It did resemble the flavor of the Kung Pao that we get from CPK. It wasn't as good. It definitely wasn't as good. But it was as similar. But again, in retrospect, I'm going to try it again because I still have all these ingredients, right? So that's the benefit. Like when we ordered it last time, it was so expensive. It's like almost $30 for that dish. So I go and spend $35 on all the ingredients. And, the goal is to be able to make this a couple more times with those same ingredients and get that value, right? So I'm going to try it again at some point. Not anytime in the near future, but probably in a couple weeks. And I'm going to try the rice wine vinegar. I think I might just try dry coating the chicken in the cornstarch, maybe. I might not even add the cornstarch at all, but if I tried again, I would just dry coat the cornstarch and then just fry it in like a little tiny bit of oil and then add the sauce, whatever. So we'll see. So we'll try that next time, fresh garlic, and we'll see if it turns out better. But anyway, that was okay. I liked making a dupe. Chad ended up, because I ran out of cornstarch halfway through. Little did I know I really didn't need that much cornstarch, but he ended up going to the store to get the cornstarch and some more scallions for me. Comes back with these sandwich cookies with these like white, probably shortbread sandwich cookies, and this thick icing, this thick sugary icing in the middle, and these sugary sprinkles on the outside that literally take me back to my childhood when I'm in the cafeteria. And remember for those that have listened to me for a while, I used to eat every day for lunch, just because I had braces and I was embarrassed. I would get these huge chocolate chip cookies that were filled with this thick icing, and I would eat this cookie with this icing for lunch. Very healthy. But it kind of took me back there. Now, the cookies weren't as good. These ones from my cafeteria back in the day were these huge chocolate chip cookies that were insane. These ones, the cookie was not as good. The icing was very good. I will give it that. So anyway, I did not want to eat those yesterday, but they were on Sunday, but I couldn't not eat them. They're sitting there and they're bringing me back to my childhood. So I did eat some of those. I had made chocolate chip cookies. So I definitely ate a lot of sugar on Sunday, and just very, 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 it was like pasta and sugar. So definitely need to get back on track today. That is for sure. Chad also had these, he brought this bag of lollipops, Tootsie Pops, which I love a Tootsie Pop. So I was eating Tootsie Pops in between. Anyway, time to get back on track. But those were my tasty treats of the week. I hope all of you have had some delicious tasty treats this week yourselves. All right, let's get into my podcast review. Now, I really liked this episode. So it was an episode of Burnt Toast, and it was called Are Shoes a Diet? So this podcast, obviously, I talk about a lot of stuff not diet related, right? I talk about plastic surgery. I talk about like skin stuff, but there's like this general relatability to, beauty, health, stuff like that. Well-being. Burnt Toast is similar. I mean, I think all podcasts cover, a wide variety of topics that relate somewhat to the central theme, mostly. And and I don't think they necessarily even said this in the podcast, but what I personally related it to is the patriarchy, right? It's so interesting to me. So Virginia Soul Smith, right? She's the creator of this podcast. She's a feminist. She's a brilliant writer. She's a fat activist. She's given up on trying to be in a thinner body. and she's very critical of all things diet culture and all these things. And at the same time, she also she recognizes kind of like these societal expectations on women. And she talks a lot about, the societal expectation on moms and how society is so hard on moms and like what people feed their children and all of these things. And she's very quick to be anti these things, which is why I think this topic was so fascinating to me, because like one of the things that I finally gave up on was wearing high heels. And I remember feeling like I was supposed to, that I had to. I think the first time I felt like I was supposed to was when I worked in the weight loss industry, and we were expected to wear suits. And I think I would get these really cheap high heels. And I don't know, I think it kind of went with my outfit, and maybe I saw other women doing it, and I just thought that that's what I should do. And then I remember, and that was fine. It was a smaller center. I don't remember being too tortured. I mean, I didn't get super high heels. And then I remember the first time I wore like high heels out, and I remember feeling so beautiful in them. Like I remember getting a lot of male attention, and I'll just never forget. Like I wanted this pair of shoes to last forever, and they were very simple. They were just very cheap shoes, probably from Payless back in the day. I think I probably got them for a dance and then just had them in my closet and decided to pair them one day with like, jeans or something. And I felt like the most beautiful woman on the planet, and was getting that feedback from men. And so I think when you start to get that, it feeds that thing that like, women are raised to like want male attention, to seek that, the gaze, the male gaze, whatever. We especially people of my age and older, that is this thing that we chased. And so like I do remember feeling that. And I remember them being uncomfortable, but that wasn't the dominant emotion at the time. And then I remember the next traumatic memory of heels is going to Vegas. For some reason I got into this thing for my birthday every year. All my girlfriends and I would go to Vegas, and we would go it was always Labor Day. It was always like this partying time. And at the time I remember knowing that gold heels looked really good on me. It like elongated my leg. I felt so feminine and beautiful and rich looking at least. And I just remember being in so much pain. I actually attribute some sort of damage in my foot to trying to walk in Vegas that distance in heels. And I'll just never forget, after that, wearing heels was always torturous for me. But when I lived in LA, I felt like I had to. I felt like it was an expectation of me to be in heels. And 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 that was what it was just expected of women. And I remember when I worked at Equinox, I remember I was like, oh my God, like this is a huge, because it's one thing if you're in this like little office which I was in the weight loss industry. It was like these little tiny offices, and I would not be standing or walking a far distance. It would be like walking from one chair to another a few feet away. But once I became an assistant general manager of this massive, the biggest club they had built in Southern California at the time, and I'm responsible for maintenance and the cleanliness and inspecting the whole facility, and I'm like, oh no, I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't walk in heels this long. And there were girls that I worked with that would literally wear stilettos and just like no problems. They would wear stilettos. I would have salespeople that worked for me that would tromp around in heels, and it was nothing for them. And I would just look at them like, how are they doing it? How are they not hobbling and in pain? And I remember this was always like the big task, was finding heels. And I would always try to find like wedge heels that I could stand to tolerate to be in. And as soon as I'd sit at my desk, I would kick them off. So I'd want shoes that I could kick off easily and then put them back on, because I would just always, I'd be like, oh, I gotta walk right now, put them on, go to whatever I had to do, and then come back and kick them off. So and it wasn't until I had my ex-fiance, the controlling perfectionist guy that I was always trying to please and look good for. He was always like, you don't need to wear those heels. He's like, girls are wearing sneakers these days. He's like, just be sexy and comfortable. And I'll never forget that, because this was at a time when the younger generation, the girls, like younger girls, were all wearing sneakers with their dresses. And that suddenly became like, but it was a very young thing. And so it seemed like the older generation of women still had this expectation to be in heels. But I'm like, I want to be like them. I want to wear the sneakers with my dress. And again, this is so sad to admit, but it was this man giving me permission, telling me I still look sexy, that made me feel like, oh, okay, I actually can look just as good in these comfortable shoes. And that literally changed my life. Like, and I'll give him some credit for that, even though like I, as a woman, should have been able to come to that conclusion for myself and done what I wanted to do for myself. Now I'm like, fuck heels. Like I'm all about my comfort. But would I feel as good about that if this controlling perfectionistic guy hadn't given me permission, hadn't been like, no, the patriarchy in my eyes is you can look sexy in those sneakers and in those comfortable shoes. Again, that kind of gave me permission that it was okay, that I still looked attractive enough for his gaze. I hate that that's what made me feel okay. There's other things I could say about that specifically that I'll probably talk about behind the paywall if I even dare to. But anyway, getting back to this topic. So for me, I do think though that that it is about the patriarchy. But for me, it was about that. It was, this is what society expects me to look like as a woman. I'm supposed to have heels on. I'm supposed to have elongated legs. This is what's feminine. This is what society expects. And I'm trying to conform to that, even though it was painful and torturous. So again, getting back to the podcast though, So this is why I was so shocked that Virginia Soul Smith, who's like Miss Feminist, loves high heels. So she was raised, and this all makes sense because she was raised in New York City. Now, her co-host, Corinne, I think that's her name, Corinne, she's from Maine. She's from where I am. So where Virginia Soul Smith grew up, and it was like her mom, right? Her mom raised her to believe that like women wear heels and this is what women do. And I think New York City culture, which apparently is where Virginia was, she was in the writing industry. She worked for these high, like New York magazines. And yeah, women wear high heels there. Virginia was raised to be like, these are so beautiful. And this is, and just like obsessed with shoes. And I think it's like the whole Sex in the City era made women, again, especially New York women, Manhattan women, it's like what you did, like the Manolo Blahnik. And again, for me, this is like, what's the epitome of feminism, right? Or not feminism, but femininity is, look at, Sarah Jessica Parker, running down Fifth Avenue in her stilettos. Like that's something that all women can do. But Virginia talked about, so now she's all about comfort and wearing shoes where she can actually spread her toes out. She said that that's really what she focuses on now. And I heard this podiatrist, I don't know if she's a podiatrist, but she was a foot specialist on, I gotta go back and find this episode. It was on the Diary of a CEO, and this foot specialist was talking about how, I don't know, she was talking about how having toes that can spread wide enough is very important. It's critical for good foot health and not having issues as you get older. So Virginia's very about that now, but she said when she used to work in New York City, she would try to stuff her toes into these very narrow heels with these pointy toes, and they were all cheap. Like she couldn't afford all the designer shoes, but she said there was this whole street of very cheap knockoff shoes that she would buy like a ton of them. But her co-host, she's like, Maine doesn't have that. Like Maine doesn't have like a shoe culture. And so it's just very different from like a New York City culture. But Virginia was talking about how a lot of shoe manufacturers, and she was kind of, the reason that she was like, are shoes a diet, is because she's relating how a lot of shoe manufacturers try to make your foot look slender. And that the design of the shoes is all about making it look thin and smaller and slender. And the heels literally change the proportion of your body. They make your legs look longer and more slender. So again, are shoes a diet, right? Like there's this whole like, oh, you're just like, the patriarchy, society thinks women should be smaller and be in smaller bodies and wear these shoes that make your legs look elongated. And, so whereas, yeah, maybe I still follow some of that thought process. I'm done with the elongated shoe. Now look, do I love the look of them? Yes. I would, if I could be comfortable, I would want to wear them occasionally, but it's just, for me now, my happiness is tied to my comfort level. I've realized that in life now. Now, I was listening to the Toast, and Claudia and Jackie were both saying how Jackie's like, I just refuse. They will wear a kitten heel. And I'll never forget, like, I remember, I don't know if it was their podcast, but it was a podcast where people were making fun of kitten heels and saying how awful they were and horrible they were and embarrassing they were and how can people wear these. A kitten heel would work for me, right? Like a kitten heel is just this little tiny heel, gives you a little lift, gives you a little bit of elongated, does make you feel like that feminine feel that was implanted from our head in society. So they were talking like Jackie was just like, I just refuse now to wear heels, but they were open to the kitten heel. But they were both talking about how they used to make fun of it and how they used to so not be open to that at all. Now, as they've gotten older and they're realizing they don't want to be uncomfortable and in pain, they're like, oh, okay, maybe I would be open to the kitten heel. Now, what I did think was interesting is like Virginia and I think it's Corinne didn't touch on how much pressure, like if you're in a larger body and you are wearing heels, like doesn't that put even more pressure on your feet? I would imagine that it would be even more uncomfortable if you have, more weight pressing on these feet that are also in a position that is just not natural. They didn't touch on that at all, but I mean, I can't imagine that wouldn't affect you negatively. They talked about how like pop stars walk around in heels. Some of them can barely move. Like they were talking about how a lot of celebrities, like you see those celebrities that go to the Met Gala, and either it's both the dress that they're in and how high their heels are. Sometimes they just can't actually walk and they need help getting up the stairs. Whereas pop stars like Britney Spears, some of these pop stars have been raised dancing in high heels. Now, I would imagine they have professional dance shoes that are a little bit better for support and that are more comfortable and stable. But good Lord. And Virginia did talk about how there are some people that are genetically built to be able to wear heels, and some people that are actually more comfortable in heels. Some people actually can't wear flats or are very, very uncomfortable wearing flat shoes. I just know that growing up, I was always told my dad had flat feet. And he was always barefoot. As soon as he could be barefoot, he was always barefoot. So I don't know if maybe that's why. Maybe he was always uncomfortable in shoes too. But I think I inherited his feet because even when I'm like, if I'm home, I'm barefoot. I might throw, I'll have socks on occasionally when my feet get cold. I have these slippers that I love because I have like no padding on the bottom of my feet. So even just walking around in bare feet can get painful after a while. So I do like these slippers that I have. My sister got me these acorn slippers that I'm obsessed with. But like, even if I'm like, I usually wear sneakers to work, but if it's boot season, right? I love boot season because boots are typically pretty wide. I have these UGG boots that are very comfortable. But even with those, like if I've been in even sneakers sometimes, if I've been in shoes all day, my feet will cramp up. Sneakers I'm okay with for the most part. And like my UGG boots are probably the most comfortable. But like I have these flat dress shoes where if I'm in those all day, and walking around, my feet will start to cramp later in the day. So even just, again, having that like forced structure of my feet is not like, my feet just want to be free. And so I do want to go back and listen to that. This woman was talking about a specific brand and also how athletes train. Like you're supposed to train in shoes that allow your feet to be wide. And she was talking about how like all those special like Nike running shoes and all these different special things they do to like enhance your performance should only be used very infrequently so that you don't damage your feet over time. Anyway, I probably will go try to seek that episode out so I can do a full review on it because there was some really good information in there that would also benefit me. But it's funny because Virginia said she's like, there's also this like scam that happens with women that believe in this shoe culture. is that the more you spend on the shoes, the more comfortable or better for your feet they are. She's like, I fell for that for a very long time. She's like, and that's something that people will perpetuate, is that, oh, well, the way the leather is stitched is just so much better for you. And she's like, yeah, like the Christian Louboutins or Manolo Blahniks. And I'm like, so I remember and this is interesting. So my toxic ex that I had did want to buy me I never had an expensive pair of shoes. And he's like, I want to get you some of those. This was on like the Christian Louboutins were all popular, the red soles. He's like, I want to get you a pair. So we go into this expensive shoe store. And again, this is all part of the patriarchy. I want to be a 7.5. Really, I'm a size 8. But I was like determined to get that 7.5. And I got these Christian Louboutins black stilettos that were 7.5s. So wildly uncomfortable. I literally could only walk a couple feet in these things. I'm like, I wore them one time to dinner. And as soon as I got to the seat, I kicked them off, put them back on when I was walking out. And I eventually sold them to the Real. But what a waste of money. What a waste. It's just, and the absolute torture of even putting those shoes on. No, thank you. And it wasn't just because they were 7.5. That was part of it. Like I felt like I wanted my feet to be so petite looking. I mean, remember back in the day, they used to bind women's feet in China to have like little tiny feet. So it wasn't just that they were 7.5s. They were like literally 90 degrees in the air. You're expected to be in these shoes walking. Not natural. So Virginia was saying how, yeah, women tell themselves this, like, oh, there's a reason to spend this extra money on these shoes. She's like, even though they couldn't feel the balls of their feet or they couldn't feel their pinky toe anymore. So this actually gave me this, because I always stare, like when I see women in high heels walking, I'm always like, are they in pain right now? Are they literally in pain? And I think some of them, I would say the majority of them are in pain. She just admitted it, right? She used to be one of those women that was like, these are so much more comfortable because they're expensive, or, oh, like, again, she believed in all of this shoe culture. And she's saying right now in this episode that she would be talking about how, oh yes, the quality of these shoes, because I spent $500 on them, are so much better. Meanwhile, she literally can't feel her pinky toe while she's saying this statement. So that I think is part of it, that women have tricked themselves into believing that they're comfortable, or that these are the comfortable ones out of all the shoes because they're more expensive, they're better made. Meanwhile, that they're not actually feeling the balls of their feet. So, yeah. And then she was actually talking about Corinne. She's like, so you think like more like ballet shoes are good for women? And she's like, well, even ballet shoes kind of constrict your toes in and kind of are made to be, make your feet even slender. She's like, even the ballet shoes. She likes her Birkenstocks. The Birkenstocks allow her to spread her toes out, give her the comfort that she needs. So I'm happy that she has found comfortable shoes and that she now knows the difference. And that, I am happy to say, is one diet I will never do again. High heels. I do believe that shoes, especially high heel shoes, are the worst kind of diet. And that's the show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to Craving More or Craving More VIP to hear more of these episodes. Please follow me on Instagram at the Diet Obsessed Podcast. Please leave a rating or review for this show. It really means the world. Click subscribe on YouTube. It doesn't cost a thing, but it really, really helps the show. Also like, comment. It all helps, and I appreciate your support. Until we meet again, I hope all of you have a very balanced week.